I'm Tim, the Brand Weaver, and this is Branding for Breweries, the podcast that helps you grow your brewery, build a better brand, and connect with more drinkers. Each week, I'm joined by the brightest minds in the beer world, sharing practical tips to help your brewery stand out and sell more beer. Let's get stuck in.
What up, ladies and gentlemen, 24-hour party people? 'Tis I, Tim the Brand Weaver, and this is Branding for Breweries. Today I am joined by the incredible author, Thomas J. Vosper, known for two phenomenal books, as you can see, positioned accurately in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. But we're not just talking about the books today. Thomas, you're going to guide us through this incredible rise to fame that you've had over social media. And what we're hoping is that you can help our audience, or my audience, leverage social in the best way possible. How you getting on, mate?
I'm good. I like that. Rise to fame.
Rise to fame.
I'll take that. I'm waiting for the commercials to catch up with the with the notoriety.
Well, it's the perception of fame a lot of the time, isn't it? Especially in the social media game, where you've kind of got, oh wow, you are anything above 5,000 followers. A lot of the time, people go, oh okay, people do care what you have to say and what you're talking about. I suppose before we get stuck into hints and tips and what you look for and how you structure your content and what you do, could you give me a bit of background, and for those people who are listening, people who may not know about the books? So, you started as an author, or just a fan of pubs in general?
No, could not be further from the truth, actually. So look, I'm an old tech guy, right? I used to work at Amazon back when there were 200 people in the UK. It was a very different business. I spent some time working at other corporates. Then I worked in startups, and I actually ran my own venture-backed startup for a little while during what was obviously coming out of COVID and very difficult economic climate. Like a lot of startups, we had a great idea, we had a fantastic team, amazing investors that backed us, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah.
A lot of them die. And so a couple of summers ago, I found myself thinking, well, what's my next move for my career? And I didn't really know what I wanted that to be. Mm-hmm. And for the last 20 years, I've been writing pub crawls to my friends and my family just for a laugh.
Nice. Okay.
And for my birthday. And so my birthday's coming up. It was start of September coming up. So I thought, right, I'm going to just enjoy myself, write the pub crawl, which actually it was this route so we're in the Gun right now in Canary Wharf. It's a beautiful pub, one of the very finest, and a beautiful view. And I put that route together and thought, well, actually, there's quite a lot of work that goes into this. I wonder if I've got any of the other old routes. And of the previous 19 years, albeit with a couple of cancellations for COVID and stuff, I actually managed to get 12, which was why my first book had 13 routes in it. It just wasn't any other reason than that. I self-published the book on Amazon. And next thing I know, I've sold hundreds of copies and thought, well, okay, maybe this is a thing. And so that's when it bled onto social media.
Amazing. And I love, you can draw parallels between brewers and kind of going, it's their passion, they were doing it anyway, they were in the garage, they were somewhere in a back room or a kitchen, and then, wow, all of a sudden, this is a career, this is paying me money. So then you've got the book, and you said it's bled onto social media. Were you just going, well, I'll just start popping a little bit on a particular channel? Like, how did you transition into leveraging social?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, I didn't even have an Instagram account, and now I've got over 180,000 followers. And that started by taking my book into the pubs and just simply saying to them, hey, I'd love to film the pub. I hope you can give me a free pint. And then we'll put it on social, and loads of people are going to come to the pub. Loads of people will buy my book. We'll all be rich, famous, and happy. And of course, the first 5 places I walked into told me to do one, as you can imagine. In fact, it was a very long first day of the 15 that we went to, and we ended up in a pub called Dirty Dick's in Liverpool Street. It's a great, lively pub. The guy behind the bar said, show me the book, show me where in it. I showed him that, and he said, okay, this is amazing. Okay, that's fine, drink some all night. And that excitement, as you say, like when people turn like a hobby into something that is more than that, there's a level of excitement that you often don't get from a job. And that excitement that I felt from that barman, excited about being in a book, it just washed over all of the time that I'd been told to F off by everyone else during the day. And I thought, okay, let's go out tomorrow and try and do it again.
Yeah.
And that's how it snowballed. I went into these pubs just with a phone, no idea how to really edit and cut videos, how to record stuff. I had a couple of second-hand mics that I bought online, and just went out there and did it.
And so, how much like crafting over time did you put in? So from that point of going, well, I've just got my phone and a couple of mics, and not so much like crafting in terms of how to shoot, how to edit it, but your mindset of going, I'm going into a pub, and these are the things I want to make sure I capture. Like, do you do any preparation ahead of all of that?
I do now. Whilst I'm very lucky to be in a position where I can walk into a lot of pubs unannounced and probably get away with a pint and filming. I do message ahead, normally because it's nice to have someone recognise us behind the bar so that they can put us into a lovely room like this. They can tell me what I shouldn't be missing out on in that pub, because there are so many stories behind pubs, and there's so many little nooks and crannies that really it helps to have a guide.
And so, when you started on social, was it just Instagram? Were you using any other channels as well?
I actually started on TikTok first.
Oh, okay.
But the two were, we've had a nice. This is what happens when you're on a riverside.
You get the noise of boats.
We get the noise of boats, and it's high tide, so there will be some boats. If we're lucky, we'll see a big Russian super yacht come in.
Wave casually. That's
Casually wave. Yeah. There it goes. Next sponsor.
Yeah. Russian super yacht. Okay, so you started on TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just. I'd built a TikTok audience in my last company, so I was familiar with that. I didn't even have an Instagram account,
right?
So I started on TikTok, but within a couple of weeks, I was just kind of running the two and putting the same content on there.
Okay, so just same video.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at any different tactics. It was just seeing if I was capturing an audience of two, and then it was the Instagram account that really took off. And Instagram has historically now been by far and away the biggest and best channel for me, mostly for the reason that despite the fact that you can be videoed eating a bat on TikTok, you can't really show much to do with alcohol.
True.
A lot of the videos get suppressed or flagged. I've tried TikTok lives from pubs and they just get flagged immediately. So, that doesn't really work so well for this industry compared to Instagram, which has got a more mature audience. It's a more established platform. And most of the brands, you can find breweries, you can find pubs, you can even find like the big conglomerates. They all have some sort of Instagram account.
And do you use Facebook now as well, or are you kind of more double down on Instagram?
I'm on most channels, so I do have a presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. The content is very much put out in portrait style, Instagram first, and then that translates to other channels. Obviously, there's a drop off in terms of the views that you see from different channels because it's not always the original new content, but it does. I do have followers that will only follow me on a particular channel if they're getting that content a week or two later. They don't even know about it, so they don't mind. The one that I do vary is YouTube. That is where I've started to film the entire routes rather than the individual pubs, which is fun after 12 pints.
The quality of conversation just teeters up towards the end, I can imagine.
Oh, well, I mean, it was pretty tough in Ireland, that's for sure.
Or do you just become more passionate about it all? This is amazing, the best thing ever. So talk to me about like the kind of the rise of the following and the growth on something like Instagram, because a lot of breweries, they'll put stuff out and go, well, that's not really working, let's not worry about it, or we don't want to invest too much time in it because we've got X, Y, and Z to do. Was it a pretty quick growth for you, or did you have to keep at it for a while?
I had a period of about 3 weeks where about sort of 5 posts popped in a row. But of course this overnight success thing is a myth, and probably one of the worst things. And certainly when I talk to commercial partners, because I do work with brands, I do have partnerships. The ones that I turn down are the ones that do expect a magic to happen immediately, or at least make an assessment on something immediately. and it is very much a war of attrition. You know, the books themselves, my own books took 20 years to make. Like, sure, like not the actual putting it together part, but like it's 20 years of doing something, consistently doing that, so that when I can sit here in front of you, or if I was on TV, or if I was on the radio, and someone asked me a question about pubs in London, I know I've been to thousands, right? Like I know. And so when you think about content, it's the same thing. Like some of my posts don't land the numbers that I hope that they would. Some really surprised me. I went to go and film Coronation Street, the soap, their famous pub, Rover's Return, with the entire cast and crew, and had the landlady pour me a pint. I put the video out, it didn't even do 100,000 views. It was one of the videos that I was like, I love that video. It's one of my best ever videos. The next 2 days later, Betchman Arms in St Pancras, 350,000 views in 24 hours. Right?
What?
And it's just a pub and a train station.
And any thoughts as to why something like that would kick off versus what you would assume is kind of like a cultural institution?
Right, exactly. And so, you know, I think we probably get a little bit lost in trying to overanalyze a lot of that stuff. And that's why things like one-off trials like rarely work, or just doing one thing once and then expecting something to happen. If it does happen, you know, you might have just been lucky. Right? And then you've got a false positive that you're like, okay, we're going to switch our entire social media strategy to that. So I feel that, you know, I have now refined an approach where I know when I walk into a pub what I need to be filming. I always have now people that are very receptive behind me that you know will pour us a pint, they'll smile on camera, and they'll tell us a bit more about the pub. You know, I have that process, and then I work with a really good, you know, I work with students to film, I work with students to edit. They're great editors. You know, I have a very set format, and I feel that's what the audience engages with.
Yeah. And so that's a really interesting point about you working with students and getting their help in, because a lot of breweries are like, yeah, we know we need to create video content, we've got to post on social, but I don't have the time, or I don't want to get in front of the camera. Like, when was your mindset of going, I can't do this all on my own, and how easy is it to get students on board to help?
Well, the very first day I went out filming, I went with a friend who was a former employee at my own company. She was my social media person, so she'd been making TikToks for me.
Right.
Okay. Company. So from day one, I've always had someone with me. Even if I go out and I'm not, let's say, officially filming a whole route, you know, my kids come with me sometimes, because it's entirely possible to go to a pub and not drink alcohol and not get smashed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can explore the food, you can have low, no alcoholic beers, you can have non-alcoholic cocktails. So I've always got someone filming for a couple of reasons. I think that it's always good to have someone else's eye look at something. So, you know, I know what I would like to have filmed, but I also give people a lot of freedom. We only film on a phone. That's it. We have a film on a phone. It's really easy. People these days are used to picking up a phone, pointing it at something and filming.
So that the phone side of things, and we talked about actually the difference in something like a well-known TV show not really popping off, but someone where it feels like they're local. Do you think that element of just relatability, authenticity, I know authenticity is a horrible cliche word these days, but the more real you can make a piece of content, the better it kind of stimulates and engages people?
Maybe. I mean, there is a particular style of format that I have around my videos, and I've taken inspiration from some other content creators, people like Eating with Todd, that are all quite kind of snappy. You know, you only get a few seconds to capture someone's attention, and really you're making a video that's no more than 90 seconds, and there's a lot to cram in there. So I have a very specific style that I hope people realise is clearly me. You know, it's definitely me in front of the camera. It's usually me behind the camera or doing some of the work and the editing. And it's certainly based off my research and my passion for pubs, and hopefully that part comes across. Yeah. I do feel that if you're thinking about being authentic, you're not authentic. It's just not a thing to even think of. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
True, yeah. You're almost having to go, is this an authentic thing that I'm doing right now? So,
Yes.
give it a second guess.
Yes.
So if we start to extrapolate out how you got to where you are and what you do with your content, what would your tips be for those brewers and breweries who are like, we want to start getting more content together, but we're really not too sure how to begin beyond posting a picture of the next pint that's coming out and telling people there's a pizza van that's at the tap yard on a Friday?
Yeah, all that kind of boring stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's that boring stuff that doesn't really connect, and you wonder why it only gets a couple of likes. It's because how long did it take you to do that? No time at all. Okay, effort, reward, generally. You can get lucky, but I think there's a tendency to try and jump on trends, and that's another thing that I try and avoid. It's a bit like architecture. When you see something described as modern architecture in a modern building, you know that that's going to look like some of those really ugly concrete buildings that we see now that were built in the 60s, that at the time they were all modern.
Yeah. Of the moment, it was beautiful.
Right, exactly. And so that's the thing. If something's in fashion, on trend, or modern, that means that by definition at some point it is not going to be in fashion, it won't be on trend, and it will not be seen as modern anymore. So there's a timelessness that pubs offer, and there's a timelessness of beer that I feel is quite easy to latch into if you just talk about, what you, like your brand, your pub, your beer. If you just talk about that in the way that you would talk about that sitting here at the table, or with your mates, or with your family, or when you're on a date and someone asks you what you do for a living, and you can just explain that in a way that's engaging, that's all you need to do.
And so if we say you have the benefit of hundreds of pubs, thousands of pubs all over the globe, where, moving into the States and places like that, and Ireland, a brewery has 8 beers, 15 beers potentially, and their brew house and their tap room. How do you think it's best for them to keep that content kind of different and engaging and keep changing it up without having to repeat themselves?
Well, repetition is not a bad thing, by the way. How many times have we heard Bohemian Rhapsody? Right? How many times have you watched Star Wars or Back to the Future? Or, we like a comfort in seeing the same thing a lot. So you really can extend your content out a lot, especially because as well, I've had videos that have had 1 million views, and I've thought, well, I can never possibly post that again because everyone on the world has seen it, but they haven't. And when I post the same video again, another 1 million people, there's another 1 million views, and there are not comments in there. So I'm sure there are some drop-offs. I'm sure there are some that see the same content and go, I'm not going to follow this guy anymore, versus the amount of new people that have seen that pub and now then go to that pub and enjoy a pint in that pub, and at a time when pubs are really struggling, I think that's a decent trade-off.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
And so, if you're reusing content or repeating content, what is an acceptable time frame between first post and then reusing it?
I don't know. I've been doing this for 1.5 years.
Yes,
that's it. I've been doing this for 1.5 years. So, what is an acceptable? If it's every 6 months, then I can tell you now the content I was making 18 months ago, I wouldn't repost.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more refined now. I have a better camera. We have a checklist now that, we look at when we go into pubs to make sure we get all the shots, because the amount of times I've walked into a pub, filmed and then left, and then seen on the editing sheet, I didn't even get the bar, I didn't get the pint, I didn't get the garden. I missed so many great things about this pub. It happens to all of us. The trick is to just go out and do it and see what happens. Just go out and do stuff. Find budget as well. Budget for me is one of the stickiest parts of when I have a conversation with anyone. People don't always appreciate just how much, at least you have to put some money behind something, you have to make an effort. To put it into context, if you want to go and film in another town or a city, there's a train fare, or, there's travel that's involved in that. I put stuff on my credit card all of the time, right? I'm just about to go and fly to the US to go and visit 3-4 cities in 7 days to go and film 48 pubs. At some point you have to make the jump to start doing stuff. Now, you don't have to spend that much money, but you do have to spend a bit. I'll forever be grateful for the fact of the people that did offer me a free pint, because, I started this off being unemployed.
Yeah.
And so I filmed 1,000 pubs. Like, do the maths. I don't know, let's call it £5 a pint. I think that's being generous
Yeah,
considering
very
we're in
reasonable.
London. You know, that's £5,000 or £6,000 of budget that I would have had to have laid out for my own content. So there's often a chance where there's a little bit of give and take where you can work with someone. As well, people don't need to look at their own content. They should look at creators. As you said, there are lots of people with an audience, even of a few thousand. You don't need to spend big money to work with a creator. What you are getting is you're getting their equity, you're getting their audience, and a good creator will always turn down something that they don't think will work, and they will always think about something slightly longer term, as in, like, let's do 3 posts or 3 videos. Let's put some stories alongside that reel or that post, so that we're getting every opportunity to talk to our audience.
And on that, I was thinking the relationship between brewery and content creator. You've got those who would be happy to receive a 4-pack in the post and they'll do their reviews at home. But when working with someone who is, who does this as a full-time job, such as yourself and others out there, how do you like to be approached? What's the information that you like to receive from, a pub in your case, but we could try and reflect that as a brewery if they're reaching out to content creators?
Yeah, well, I always like to see a brief. I like to see a brief and hear a budget, so that if we know in the right sort of ballpark. As you say, it's very different from sending a few beers to someone who might have a few beers in their garden with a barbecue or on their balcony, and that's one way of engaging, and you should absolutely still do that. There are other content creators who have staff, who have a mortgage, who have children to feed. I can't let my children starve because
Just promote the beer.
You send me some free beers.
Right? They can't have it.
No, but like, in all seriousness, there's lots of different ways. I get sent free beer all the time, and I love that. I get sent free beers, and I absolutely do shout about them as well. It's lovely. Like, good people do good things. If people are kind to you, I think it's very reasonable. I think, I'm often, very lucky to be invited to come and have lovely meals in pubs. And of course, like, I take photos when I'm there. Of course I will share that journey. And so even the very biggest creators you can reach out to do things. If it fits in their lifestyle, if it fits in what they're doing, and it doesn't, I won't go somewhere where I have to pay £200 on a train to go there to do something for a free meal. I might as well stay at home.
Yep, spend 50 quid on the meal.
50 quid, right? But if I'm in London anyway, or if I'm in an area anyway, or if I'm filming a pub crawl and you can help me out, I can help someone else out. And I think a lot of creators feel that way as well. But it's got to start with a conversation somewhere. It's got to start with, if you're a brewery, if you're a pub, if you're any brand really, where are you finding the creators? Like, who are you following? How active are you? Like building a social presence isn't just, I'm going to set up an Instagram account and then start posting some stuff, or just go and check a couple of people on a hashtag and then go and approach them. It's engaging with the community. Like, do you already follow me? Do you follow some of the other people that make great content about beer? Are you engaging with their posts? Do you understand who you want to talk to? If you approach me, there might be things that you might not like about my profile or my style, but if you've just had a cursory glance, one of the questions I always like to ask someone if I'm approached, it's like, great, what's your favourite pub, and what's one of my videos that you've really liked, and why?
Yeah.
And
it
filters out, immediately when there's a stuttering and their eyes kind of glaze over, you're like, you just haven't looked at my profile.
Well, I think that's a big thing. And I know various podcasters and people who I've spoken to as well. It's like, you can't just blanket DM everyone and be like, hey, this is my brewery, this is my beer. You've got to do that little bit of research which goes, this works for us, this aligns with what we're trying to do. Otherwise, like you say, it becomes unstuck so rapidly and it just feels like a really forced conversation, or indeed it's very easy to realise that there's no care or attention towards the relationship they're developing.
Yes, and you've got to think again that the core of what a lot of people are running breweries, similar to myself with my books, like, they come from a passion and a knowledge that is over years. And so the idea that you take someone who's really passionate about pubs, so much they've written a 6-book deal. So there'll be 6 books that come out. You talk to me, and you are a person that has brewed beer, really passionate about it, love your brand, love what you do, and somewhere that conversation is just boiled down to like a blanket email or an unsolicited DM.
Yeah.
It's such a waste. It's such a better conversation when you're talking about what people really motivates them.
Yeah. I can see that now. I can just picture going through the hello, insert name here. We are so and so, and you're like, I don't care.
Right, it's the effort versus the reward. It's the same as you're just taking a picture of a beer and then just going and putting that, as a post and expecting it to happen. Like, there's loads of people take photos of beer.
So coming back to the effort versus reward side of things, I'm thinking, okay, if a brewer's going, I can't just take a photo of my beer anymore. Are you suggesting there is a little bit of description of the beer, a couple of shots of them actually brewing and creating the beer and it getting poured? They're trying to capture like a range of shots and then pull that into one piece?
Yeah, look, there's all sorts of things you can do. Think about it this way. You could, if you have a tap room, every single person that comes in and buys a beer, you can give them £1 off their pint if you take a quick shot of them saying what they think of the beer. There you go. How many people go into your tap room during the course of a week? Let's say 200.
Yeah.
Right? It costs you now it costs you £200 to hold a phone at someone, mic them up, and say, what do you think of that beer? And then to put that out. That's 200 pieces of content that you can put out in 7 days. It's cost you £200. It hasn't really cost you £200, right? It's cost you £1 off your profit of the beer.
Yeah. But you don't even have to do a quid off, do you? A lot of the time, it's like
Does it even
10% off. 50%.
Yeah, or nothing. Or you could do next one free, you could £1 off, or you could just ask someone's opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you only need 7 to do a full week's worth of content. So you only need to ask 7 people who are up for it.
And I suppose a lot of the time, people seeing just members of the public comment on things, it's a far more believable piece of content that way versus that, hey, this is my best beer that I've created yet kind of thing, because you trust the general public.
It's really easy. Just, who have we got here today? Why did you pick that beer? How many beers have you had already? How many are you sticking around for? What sort of thing do you normally like?
Yeah. It's a bit of a focus group.
Well, you don't see. Yeah. I mean, you're getting instant feedback. You get, there's also, what's your best joke?
Yeah, you never know, do you?
Like, you never know.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't have to post it all in one go. You slice it
all
up.
in one go. Yeah. I mean, you potentially don't even need to edit too much of that, right? As as long as you don't mind the old millennium pause at the start where you kind of hit record and then they start talking, right? But it's easy enough to do. And I there are lots of content creators and it is, again, it's hard to get cut through on that because there's lots of other people doing it. You get a lot of street interviews. Again, for brands, it's really easy. If you're like a sneakers brand, just go into the street, go and ask people about the shoes. What you're wearing today? Where did you get them from? Done. There you go. It's a video.
And what about the trade-off between quality and quantity? Because you're saying, you could get 200 odd people and smash all of that out in a week, but it's quick stuff. Like, where's the balance thing?
I think it's an everything's an experimentation. For stuff that you think is going to work, it doesn't work. You're always surprised by things. For people that don't like your content, they won't follow.
Yeah, true.
Right? People that do, they will, and then you'll soon figure it out. I think as a content creator, you're in a very unique position where you have to hold 2 very contradicting mindsets. One is that I care so much about this and I care about my audience that I want to be very professional and make this the best video that I'm ever going to do because I care so deeply. But that's a lot of pressure and that stops you experimenting. So the other thing that you need to realise is most people don't know who you are. They're not going to watch your video and they haven't got time for your bullshit.
Yeah, it's the reality of it.
That is literally the reality of it. You have to do those both things because if you're in the mindset that no one sees it and I don't care, that's when you're lazy. That's when you do something sloppy. That's when you post boring stuff that even you don't care about because you wouldn't follow it.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to care, but that does mean that you spend a lot of time caring about stuff that no one sees.
But yeah, at least for the beginning, I suppose. And it's a conversation I've had.
No, even now, like no one sees stuff. Like even now, like I put videos out and some of them get millions of views and some of them get like 20,000 views. And I'm like, what's like,
Why? What's the logic?
Yeah, like is it the wrong time? Did I tag the wrong thing? You know, why did the algorithm not like me? Is the sun shining so everyone's out so they're not on social media?
Yeah.
Is it raining so everyone's in and they're just doom scrolling? But then, of course, when everyone's just doom scrolling, it's competitive. So you're in a very noisy place to get cut through. You know, is it better to go out on a slow news day? There's loads of things that you can think of to overanalyze it, which I'm certain that no one really knows. It's just about finding your own tone of voice, being a bit creative, and then just being consistent.
Thomas, I think that's a fantastic way just to wrap up this conversation, buddy. For those who do not follow you yet or want to get a copy of the book or indeed a bit of the lovely merch that you're supporting today, where can they find you, where can they follow you, and where can they read your stuff?
Yep, so I'm Historic Pub Crawls on almost every social channel. I'm also Historic Pub Crawls USA if you're interested in USA pubs, especially with the trip coming. And you can also go to buythebooks.pub or all major retailers and just search for Historic Pub Crawls through London or England or New York, and you'll find one of those books available.
Thomas, my man, thank you once again, buddy. This has been brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Cheers,
yeah,
buddy.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's finally get our pints in.
Yeah, wet the whistle. Cheers.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Branding for Breweries. If you got something great from it, hit follow, like and subscribe on your favourite streaming app. Or even better, leave a review, share it with your brewery pals, or get in touch, because I want to chat to you. Rock on!